Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, I first want to say sorry for the lack of consistency. I've been extremely busy. I don't know if a lot of y'all know this, but I am a full-time college student. I have a job outside of this podcast, and I'm just a very busy guy, but it's not an excuse. I need to get at you guys more often, and so I'm going to make an effort to be a lot more consistent going forward, despite the fact that I'm busy with other things in my life. So today, you know I like to be as concise as possible, so I'm going to give you my updated running back rankings, the top 15, and I'm going to try to do it in under 10 minutes. That way I can get you guys a lot of relevant information and not waste a whole lot of y'all's time. So I'm going to start right here with the very first player on my list for my rest of season running back rankings, and that is Christian McCaffrey. Now, this is a guy who's pretty much matchup proof, right? I mean, you look at this San Francisco offensive line, you look at Christian McCaffrey's talent level, there's really no defense that can stop him. Even if he's going up against a defense like Philadelphia or even the Dallas Cowboys, you still start him with confidence. He's one of the very few matchup-proof running backs in the NFL still today, and he's getting the majority of the work in his backfield. We know that Elijah Mitchell is going to carry some of the workload in this backfield to help keep Christian McCaffrey healthy, but McCaffrey's still getting an insane workload. We know he's an insane talent. We know that he's an elite receiver. They line him up out wide. He's basically that modern day hybrid wide receiver where he can be, or hybrid running back where he can be an elite running back out of the backfield and line up as a wide receiver, catch passes out of the backfield, take passes to the house. This is a dude who has elite talent in both the running and the passing game. He's on a great offense and provides some great touchdown upside. The volume is insane. This dude's a walking fantasy football championship. Next player on my list is going to be Tony Pollard. Now, this is a guy who everybody was trying to say going into the season isn't a true workhorse. I tried to tell people that that's crazy talk. I don't understand where this notion came from. Look, Tony Pollard had 25 carries last game. There is no running back in this backfield that's going to threaten his workload whatsoever. There's very few true workhorse running backs left in the NFL from a volume standpoint. Tony Pollard's one of them. So the fact that people try to tell you that he's not a true workhorse is absolutely idiotic. This dude is a true workhorse, and he's going to be elite this year because he's playing in an offense that is going to provide him great touchdown upside. And we know that much like Christian McCaffrey, he's a dual threat. He can be elite in the running game and the passing game. Next player on my list is going to be Bichon Robinson. This is a guy who is tremendously talented. We knew that coming into the league. He's splitting the backfield with Tyler Algier a lot more than I think a lot of us expected. But as the season goes along, you got to figure that more of that volume is just going to be dominated by Bichon Robinson. Even though Tyler Algier is a good back, Bichon Robinson has been insane so far from a yards per carry efficiency standpoint. He's an elite receiver. This dude can do it all. He's one of the most talented running backs in the league on a team that runs the ball like crazy. Bichon Robinson could easily end up being the running back one this year. This dude's a locked-in, set-it-and-forget-it starter. He's an absolute monster. My number 3 going forward this season. Number 4 is going to be Travis Etienne of the Jaguars. Now, this is a guy who is dominating touches in his backfield more than a lot of us expected. Tank Bigsby. A lot of people thought that Tank Bigsby was going to cut significantly into Travis Etienne's workload. It looks like this is not going to be the case. Now, it's still very early in the season. Maybe this changes, but, Travis Etienne is efficient as ever. The dude's always been an extremely efficient back. We know that he's a dual threat. He can catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. We wanted to see his target share from last season go up because it wasn't as high as we wanted it to be. It looks like that's going to happen. They're actually feeding him some work out of the backfield. So, considering the fact that he's going to get some passing work this year and he's an elite talent with great rushing abilities as far as yards per carry efficiency, and we know that he has the ability to hit the home run and make the big play as well. So, this is a guy that you're going to want to start every week going forward. He's pretty much matchup proof. You're never going to be sitting this guy on your bench. He's my number 4 going forward. Next player is going to be Aaron Jones. Now, Aaron Jones is one of the most talented running backs in this league. I've been saying it for a long time. In fact, if you look at running backs that are currently in the game that have 500 carries or more and have averaged more than 5 yards per carry, there's only 3 of them. That's Tony Pollard, Nick Chubb, and Aaron Jones, right? Look how good those running backs are. I mean, we're talking about the best running backs in the league. Aaron Jones is in that conversation. Nobody wants to give him credit for it. It blows my mind. But this is one of the best running backs in the NFL. And for whatever reason, they will just not stop splitting this backfield. It's very annoying because A.J. Dillon is so much worse than Aaron Jones that he is tiers below him in talent. Aaron Jones is a tier 1 talent. A.J. Dillon is a tier 3 talent. And they insist on splitting the work in this backfield. I understand that they want to keep him healthy and everything like that, but if the Packers seriously want to compete for a Super Bowl this year, they need to free Aaron Jones. Okay? This is one of the best running backs in the league, and if his volume goes up going forward, and it should based on how bad they were without him and how obvious it is that they need him in this offense, he's going to be an absolute fantasy weapon going forward. So if they feed him like I think they're going to feed him going forward, this dude's going to absolutely explode. Next player on my list is going to be Derrick Henry. Now, this is a guy who, one of the most talented running backs in this game, might be the best pure runner in the game. It's either him or Nick Chubb. And he had 25 carries last week. So the talent plus the volume is going to produce awesome efficiency for Derrick Henry. This dude, despite not having a good offensive line, produces awesome fantasy numbers every single season. He doesn't catch passes. That's why he's not in my top 5. But this dude's an absolute beast. Next player on my list is going to be Austin Ekeler. Now, I wasn't as big on Austin Ekeler going into the season as everybody else was, and it's because I knew that when Keenan Allen was on the field, he doesn't get as many targets, and that, with all these elite receivers in the offense, well, he's probably not going to have the touchdown upside that he used to have. But I still think he's going to be really good. I mean, look, he's here in my top 10, right? He's still going to catch a healthy amount of passes out of the backfield, and he's going to have touchdown upside playing in a great offense. So I love him as my number 7 going forward. Next player on my list is going to be Alvin Kamara. Now, this is a guy who we've seen be the running back 1 in all of fantasy. Several years ago, back in 2020, he was the running back 1 in all of fantasy. I mean, this is a guy who has that kind of ceiling. And look, Jamal Williams got hurt. This looks like it's going to be a potent offense with other wide receiving threats. You've got 3 really good wide receivers to open up the field, stretch the field, get targets downfield, and open up the field for Alvin Kamara to absolutely eat. Look, teams are going to have to try to cover Rashid Shaheed, Michael Thomas, and Chris Olave. So a lot of the defensive attention is going to be, down the field, right? So this is going to open up those dump offs for Alvin Kamara to just absolutely feast out of the backfield. He's going to have games where he sees 10-plus targets because it's going to be so easy to exploit the defense because of all the receiving threats. This offense is going to be very potent, and Alvin Kamara is going to explode when he comes back. He very well might climb way higher up my rankings once he actually comes back to the league, to playing this year. So, yeah. Next player on my list is going to be Jamir Gibbs. Now, Jamir Gibbs is a guy who has elite talent, right? He was drafted in the first round for a reason, and obviously David Montgomery's dealing with an injury right now. The most encouraging sign for Jamir Gibbs is that he saw 10 targets in this last game. This dude's getting targeted like crazy out of the backfield like we knew he would. He's lining up as a wide receiver like we knew he would. This is going to be an explosive offense. A little bit of a slow start for Jamir Gibbs, but I'm not worried. He's going to bounce back. He's going to be awesome. Next player on my list is going to be Josh Jacobs. Now, there's not a whole lot of running backs in the NFL that are handling a full workload. Josh Jacobs is one of them. So that fact alone, I mean, there's so very few workhorse running backs in the NFL that Josh Jacobs is just incredibly valuable. They started to feed him out of the backfield this past game. They actually threw him 5 passes. He caught 5 passes in this last game, so that's a really encouraging sign that he's not only going to see insane rushing volume, but he's going to see a lot of work out of the backfield. I love Josh Jacobs going forward. He's just good enough to be in my top 10. Next player on my list is going to be James Cook. Now, James Cook has some pretty darn good talent. He's playing in a great offense. They're going to feed him a lot. James Cook had over 120 rushing yards in this past game. This dude is an absolute fantasy monster on a very potent offense. I love James Cook going forward. Next player on my list is going to be DeAndre Swift. Now, DeAndre Swift is a guy who pretty much took over his backfield in this last game. I mean, we know based on what we saw that he pretty much took Kenneth Gainwell's spot, and we knew that he was the most explosive back in the offense. It's just a matter of, do the Eagles trust DeAndre Swift to hold on to the football, to be consistent, everything like that? And after this last game, I just don't see how they don't free DeAndre Swift and make him the lead running back in this backfield. He's clearly the most explosive back in this backfield, running behind a great offensive line. This dude's going to absolutely explode, even if he has to split some work with Kenneth Gainwell. Next player on my list is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. Now, the Patriots offense really isn't that great, but this dude's going to see a ton of targets out of the backfield. And, I think I'm a little bit less worried about Ezekiel Elliott than I was at first. I was thinking that Ezekiel Elliott's going to take all his goal line work. He's going to take some of his goal line work, but Ramondre Stevenson's still going to find the end zone. He's still going to get carries within the red zone, and he's still going to catch a lot of passes. I love him going forward. Next player on my list is going to be Saquon Barkley. This is a guy who, obviously an elite talent. The Giants have looked like trash so far, but in his last game, Saquon Barkley absolutely went off. When he comes back from his injury, expect to see more of that. Next player on my list is going to be Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is a guy who, he's kind of a home run hitter, right? But he really isn't always good at grinding out yardage between the 1 and 10 yard line. We don't really see him catch a lot of passes, although, when he does catch passes, he can make some big plays happen. So I really like Kenneth Walker going forward. I just think that he's ranked a little bit too highly in most other people's rankings, but he's in a very potent offense, and he's an elite talent, and he's getting in the majority of the work in his backfield. So I really like him going forward, at least good enough to be top 15. All right, guys, appreciate it. Catch you later.